Today is Tuesday, June 27th, 2023, and my bills come around for today, the credit card bills and any other bills. So I'll be on the south side for the moment, but hopefully by the end of this year, I pay half or all of my debt, and I will come out onto the north. Speaking of South and North, there are a lot of conflicts between the South and North, between rich and poor, between the strong nation and poor nation, or weak nation. And then before any war breaks out, nowadays we have PMCs, private military contractors or companies. So let's find out what they are all about, and the mercenaries and Yevgeny Prigozhin. So here we go, and I pulled off this article from the internet, and I'm gonna read this article to practice English too. So it's a dual-pronged approach. I am Korean. I work for Korea Telecom, KT, number one carrier in the world, but I need to constantly practice English by reading an English article each day, and also to talk to or communicate with foreigners a lot to stay on par with my current English. So kind of I hone in on my English by reading an English article each day. So here we go. This one is from TRT World and the US Canada 5 years ago. Are private military contractors any different from mercenaries? The global market for mercenaries and private military contractors is worth more than $100 billion, and the lines that differentiate the two are blurry. A private contractor gestures to their colleagues flying over in a helicopter as they secure the scene of a roadside bomb attack in Baghdad, Iraq, Tuesday, July 5th, 2005. Private military contractors, PMCs, play a major role in the fields of gathering intelligence, training, security ambitions, technical and technological support, and transporting needs in conflict zones and all around the world. Mainly the US-based firms, along with private military contractors from the UK, are serving all around the world, especially in conflict zones in Africa, the Middle East, and Afghanistan. Most of the time, there's a grammatical mistake. Most of the time, the relation between PMCs and mercenaries or freelance soldiers fighting for money is questioned by global public opinion. However, mercenaries are banned by international laws, while PMCs are considered legal. What is that? Geneva Convention. The use and recruitment of mercenaries are legally forbidden by the 1989 International Convention against the recruitment, use, financing, and training of mercenaries. A mercenary is defined as any person who is specially recruited locally or abroad in order to fight in an armed conflict. Recruitment of people for a private gain is also forbidden. According to the 1989 International Convention, people who are not members of any armed forces of a party to the conflict would be considered mercenaries, and that mercenaries should be considered as an offense to all states, and that they should be prosecuted or extradited. However, only 35 countries ratified the convention, which entered into force on October 20th, 2001. The countries with large militaries, especially the US, Russia, and the UK, have not ratified it because of their active use of PMCs. Interesting. Not only the mercenaries, but PMCs are prevented, forbidden, According to the 1989 International Convention, people who are not members of any armed forces of a party to the conflict would be considered mercenaries, and that mercenaries should be considered as an offense to all states, and that they should be prosecuted or extradited. However, only 35 So PMCs basically belong to mercenary category. The industry is worth in excess of $100 billion and has grown exponentially, especially after the September 11th, 2001 attacks, thanks to their strong relations with political establishments. Poor records of information for the sector, insistence for big countries' rejection banning international laws, human rights violations, and profit of war pose a major threat to world peace. Profit of the war. Profit of war. Profit of war. Are PMCs and mercenaries different? Both private military contractors, PMCs, and mercenaries work for money. Mercenaries are individual soldiers who can be hired by whoever pays them, while PMCs recruit these people in an organization. Mercenaries don't have any tie to a company or a state and title. They only fight for money. However, private soldiers are working for a recognized company that is registered with authorities of a country where the operations are based out of. Mercenaries don't have any tie to a company or a state and title. They only fight for money. However, private soldiers are working for a recognized company that is registered with authorities of a country where their operations are based out of. The PMCs serve as the intermediary between professional soldiers and the governments. Professor Sean McFate from Georgetown University, an author of the upcoming book, The New Rules of War, spoke to TRT World about the private military industry as a former industry insider. Almost all private soldiers are among ex-soldiers or national police force because of their prerequisite training and relevant experience, like Sean McFate's working for private contractors in Africa after previously serving as a U.S. Army paratrooper. McFate said the private military industry and mercenaries are a word-of-mouth business. Owing to its illicit nature, a word-of-mouth business. Because of this, the industry is organized by language group and shared experiences. He added, if you have the skills to be a private military contractor, then you can be a mercenary too. The skill sets are the same. 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 The only difference is who is the client, state or non-state. But even this differentiator is debatable. In this September 26, 2013 file folder, Joseph Hunter, a center, a former U.S. Army sniper, who became a private mercenary, is in the custody of Thai police commandos after being arrested in Bangkok, Thailand. Hunter, already serving a 20-year term for plotting to kill a DEA agent, went on trial in New York at the U.S. District Court in Manhattan in April 3, 2018, on charges that he plotted to assassinate a real estate agent for an international crime boss. Went on trial, the former industry insider, went on trial. Profit of war. As compared to conventional mercenaries, PMCs have access to much more complex and heavy military equipment like tanks, helicopters, and planes, while mercenaries have light arms. Light arms. Light arms. Mercenaries are generally deployed for frontline combat, while PMC soldiers can serve a variety of areas: security, logistics, transportation, gathering intelligence, networks, and combat. I think security and logistics, it got to be a noun, not adjective. Logistics. Both wear a mix of casual civilian clothing and special operation uniforms, while the income of a mercenary is greater than that of PMC workers. PMCs can cooperate with mercenaries and recruit them despite a UN ban on mercenaries. When a client hires a company, often that company will hire or make subcontractors in a war zone to help execute missions. These are nicknamed subs in the industry, and there is often little accountability for them. Subcontractors. In fact, subs. Typically, the client is not aware of the existence or the extent of the operation, said McFate. A British contractor armor group providing airbase security for the U.S. in Afghanistan had subcontractors with two Afghan military companies named Mr. White and Mr. Pink. Many PMCs also appear to be freelance in terms of the multi-ethnic composition of private soldiers who sell their services for money. Freelance appears to be a freelance. Countries usually prefer the use of PMCs for several reasons: a lack of human resources in the armed forces, their perception of being more efficient, nepotism, and/or good contacts with the governments to avoid responsibility for the acts committed by PMCs, to avoid the control of democratic institutions, and to intervene in the internal affairs of a country, mostly foreign. The lack of information makes it impossible to know the market volume of the private military sector. Thus, it is impossible to know how many people are recruited in this sector. Accountability. Even though PMCs are bound by the laws of the country out of which their operations are based, the legality of their actions comes into question when they operate in territories outside their parent country. For example, American contractors in Iraq would not be bound by local laws, and they might not necessarily be subject to U.S. laws either, since the jurisdiction might not apply. 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 This results in a lack of accountability as compared to regular soldiers who can be court-martialed if any of their respective military laws are violated. Court-martialed. McFate underlines enormous accountability and transparency concern for PMCs. However, to be fair, many national militaries in the world also suffer from corruption and impunity. This does not give an excuse for the private military sector, but people should be aware that controlling organized violence has been a challenge throughout history, he added. In 2004, Muslim prisoners were tortured by the U.S. contractor Khaki International at infamous Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq. However, Khaki International evaded punishment and it continued extending contracts worth $23 million with the US. This image shows naked detainees with bags placed over their heads, placed into a human pyramid as Specialist Sabrina Harmon, middle, and Corporal Charles Graner Jr. above pose behind them in late 2003 at the Abu Ghraib prison in Baghdad, Iraq. Ex-employee of Aegis, the British military contractor, posted a so-called trophy video that showing Aegis members shooting with machine guns at a civilian car in Iraq. After the incident, Aegis conducted investigations. However, the contractor said it was a legitimate operation. Blackwater, now called Academy, has one of the most checkered histories among private contractors. Now is Academy. In September 2007, some Blackwater soldiers allegedly opened fire on civilians in Baghdad. 17 civilians were killed and many others were wounded in this incident. Blackwater employees defended themselves by saying that they opened fire against the car bombing by an insurgent group. Opened fire. But the passengers of the targeted vehicle included a couple and their child, according to investigation and witnesses. Eric Prince, former Blackwater USA, is escorted into the hearing room by a Capitol Hill police officer prior to giving his testimony before the House Oversight Committee hearing Tuesday, October 2nd, 2007, which is examining the mission and performance of the private military contractor Blackwater in Iraq and Afghanistan. Growing threat. McFate says that the mercenary world is growing and far more dangerous than people know. This is by design, since mercenaries sell plausible deniability and lethality in the shadows, he added. Deniability, lethality, lethality. McFate also emphasizes uncertainty of the size of the private military industry by saying one of the chief selling points of mercenaries is their secrecy. Mercenaries can offer more secrecy than government spies or special forces. McFate gave an example. In February, 5,000 mercenaries hired by Russia almost wiped out a group of elite U.S. soldiers in eastern Syria. The Americans came from Delta Force, Rangers, Green Berets, Marines. They called in B-52s, F-22s, F-15s, AC-130 gunships, Apache helicopters, and drones, and it still took them 4 hours to beat back the 500 mercenaries. This was America's finest. 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 It begs the question, what happens when non-elite troops not backed by the U.S. Air Force have to fight 1,000 or 5,000 mercenaries? What happens to countries that are not military superpowers? This begs the question. It 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 begs the question. The mercenary threat is a significant concern, he concluded. Yes, it is very severe concern to Putin, because the Yevgeny Prigozhin was the strong armed forces strong PMC leader. TRT original channels. From this article, we learn such expressions as it begs the question. This was America's finest. This was America's finest. Mercenaries, PMCs, deniability, lethality, secrecy, profit of war. It begs the question, when what else? All of the expressions I already understand, but I would like to remember the expressions. It begs the further question. What else? Damn. The lines that differentiate blurry, conflict zones, PK, academy, khaki. Blackwater is now academy, khaki. I worked with khaki in Korea. I didn't know khaki was that formidable company. Mainly they were the IT industry contractor for the military based in Korea. But now they are mercenaries? What is going on? Am I wrong? Poor records of information, profit of war, mercenaries, soldiers resort to the organization, registered with authorities, immediately formidable upcoming book, prerequisite training, relevant experience, prerequisite training, prerequisite training, and relevant experience, prerequisite training and relevant experience, private military industry, illicit nature. The skill sets are the same. 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 State or non-state commandos. Security, logistics, transportation, gathering intelligence, network, and combat. Cooperate, PMCs. Client hires company, zone subs. Yeah, subcontractors are called subs. Airbase security to African military companies. Freelance in terms. Countries usually prefer the use of PMCs for several reasons. Prefer acts of committed, intervene, lack of information, accountability comes into question. It begs the question. For example, McFate. He's good. The former industry insider, McFate, the former industry insider, khaki, Aegis shooting machine guns. Damn. They are terrible, man. Blackwater employees. Car bombing. Growing threat. This is by design. Since mercenaries sell plausible deniability and lethality in the shadows. This is by design. Wiped out by design. It begs the question. Well, that's it. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.